Good morning, future rich dads and future rich moms. Today is March 27th, Thursday, 2025. I've been on a hiatus for the past couple weeks because I had what you would call a retinal detachment. I had surgery about 2 weeks ago for a emergency treatment, and then things deteriorated, and I had another secondary surgery on Tuesday this week. So it's been quite a bit of time since my last update. But let's get to it. I am now currently a pirate with an eye patch. So I will be trying to find some booty in this NASDAQ ocean. So let's get started. We currently are in a break of trend. According to this 5-minute chart on the left, as you can see, there's a yellow line. We quickly retested that top of the yellow line to continue to the further down to the downside. But this is currently, I would say, a fill for an opening gap all the way to the left in
Order
the
filled.
start of the overnight New York session, or the overnight market. And so we are just currently filling this gap, and I think I'll show it later in the video that there is a huge opening gap, and we are currently going to be filling that here. So I'm taking a sell because, like right here on the left, you can see there's an empty space between where we entered and this yellow, this area here. There's a huge gap here. So when opening gaps occur, usually those are as it shows, a very empty space. So there's very little volume or orders placed in this area. So there was like a big jump here between the close of previous day and opening of this session. So there's like no volume there, and therefore it will eventually fill. And that's where we currently are at. As you can see, the entry marker that I'm in for my contract is just a little bit
Stop
above
filled.
in this empty gap. So there's going to be some volume in terms of the current market volatility to just go up and down, but we are going to be filling this gap, and we will play accordingly with this. So I did get stopped out, I believe, for something, but we are just waiting to see what's going to happen next. So this looks like it might just be a retracement in terms of breaking the previous trend. And this big black candle here in the middle of the the 1 minute chart
Order filled.
is the break of that downward trend, and then reversing, and then just breaking that upward direction towards the downside. So yeah, just a little bit of a retracement here is what it looks like to continue to fill this opening gap on the 5-minute chart. What I'm expecting or looking to see is if we are breaking towards this bottom volume where these gray lines are being drawn, these gray shaded areas. These are points of interest where volume had accumulated, and this is a huge gap in terms of just looking in the left side of the 5-minute chart. There is a big gap there and potentially being filled. So what I'm looking for is to see if we break below this on the 1 minute chart on the right. This gray shaded area is what I'm looking to see if we break past that. And this current area that we just reaching above us in this other gray shaded area looks like to be a resistance area, as volume had just touched it and rejected away from it. So looks like there's some kind of volume that is preventing us from moving to the top side above that. So that is forming as a resistance. And that's just what I'm looking for, is do we break below this kind of thicker gray area, or do we break above that gray area above us to reverse back to the top since we did fill a gap, so usually when gaps fill, they reverse because that was where volume was. So then we therefore picked up that volume, and therefore there might be an opposite direction in terms of why we were picking up those orders in the first place. So currently we're at that bottom gray area, and we're looking to see if you just follow the cursor, the green cursor, we are at the bottom of this gray area where there has been volume accumulated in the 5-minute chart. So I'm looking to see if that range fills and breaks below to further go to the downside to fill this other gap. So that's what I'm looking for right now, but we go where the market takes us. And it looks like we are forming some kind of support area. We're just barely breaking under it, but it seems like it's holding us in place. So this might be like the true area of support. So that's where I'm kind of like moving the gray shaded area to where, volume is. So we're kind of going further below this area to fill this like up and down area within the 5-minute chart, since volume had accumulated there. So we'll just keep going to see if we break past these volume clusters to see if we move in the direction of this gap. So it looks like there's a support building here since we have some upward momentum, and this will probably stop me out most likely, as we are just hovering over this area where volume had accumulated. If you look to the left in the 5-minute chart, there's the point of control, which is where this bottom gray area is kind of covering it, but this is where the point of control is in terms of this cluster of volume on the 5-minute chart. So this is keeping us above point of control, so there is a strong objection to go to the downside. So this eventually gonna bring us to a stop in our stop loss here to stop us out of this current downward trade. So as you can see, there's this white candle on the 1-minute chart that had just pretty much created a wall, and we'll see if this wall is where the ball bounces. So I'm still looking for a downward side here, since we are kind of below this gray area where I just had created, where this point of control is kind of hovering at in terms of the current point of control. And we're now going to look to see if we can break this gray area that we're just touching now, since this is the bottom of the point of control where the previous volume cluster is in the 5-minute chart. So if we break and close before below here and then retrace into it and then continue downward, that's kind of my thought process here to fill this gap. That's why I'm creating more gray areas below us, because there are one, there's the gap, and then there's points of interest where volume had reacted before. So we'll see if we continue to the downside. And there's huge downside potential, as there's an even bigger gap below this gap here. So this is the thought process. Do we continue to the downside for a big downward play, or are we going to get stopped out? And since this is filling this opening gap between sessions, we are in a good area for a reversal. So this is kind of what it's looking like now, since we are creating equals highs here. So this gray area that we're kind of hovering between is kind of the channel, the ranging area, before we continue either to the downside or reverse to the upside. As I can see that I have changed the gray shaded area into a red shaded area to indicate that as being a resistance. So that is like the ceiling that was not being broken, and we're bouncing off of that. And as you can see here, this is where we're currently, the price is at. That price is kind of hesitating to move downward and just hovering in this area. So that is creating a support area. So we're supporting the price here and preventing it from moving to the downside. So this is what I've done, just change it to green to show that there's upside potential here, as this is where price is being supported and not bringing it further below that. And as you can see in the 5-minute chart on the left, that is where the majority of orders were. That's where the point of control is showing. There's that purple line. You can barely see it since the green area is covering that, but that's where the majority of orders have been transacted. So we are nearing this resistance again. So since we have bounced here several times before and the support is preventing us from going to the top side, there is a prime chance for a reversal in this area. So what I'm doing now is kind of trailing my stop to see if we break the ceiling and continue to the top side. And this current candle is going to close in a second, and it's one of those indecision candles. So we are going to see which candle is next, either an upward candle or a downward candle, to see if momentum continues in either direction. So if this closes white, there is a prime time for reversal, and if this closes black, then we are looking for a downward continuation to fill the gap. But it looks like here we are reversing. So if this candle closes above this red area, then it is pretty much a reversal, since we had broken the ceiling, and therefore if you break the ceiling, you're kind of just like
order filled.
You're breaking and flying away. So this one's about to close in 6 seconds, and we are breaking above this ceiling. So therefore, this is prime for reversal.
Order filled.
Enter here. And our current target then is to go back to where the gap had been created at the top. And that is what we will be looking for here, is a strong move to the top. And we will, since this is a breakout of the ceiling, we have just tapped back into that retracement where volume was and picked up some orders to go to the top side. So break, retrace, continue, break, retrace, continue. That is the market cycle. So we have continued momentum to the top side to fill some of this gap that we had created in this kind of big black candle in the middle of the 1 minute chart. And we have broken out of the ceiling, so we will be having some strong move up. But what here, I'm going to get stopped out because this is more of the breakout of this glass ceiling type red area. So we will be needing a retracement, since this was a strong move, since there's 2-3 consecutive white candles. So this is not technically the retracement yet. So there will be due for a retracement into volume. And there, just marking the blue line, there is news coming at 10. Kind of irrelevant news, but there is some impact, which is, I think this is home sales news. So it's not really that important, but there's always reactionary momentum in terms of the build up to some news. And yeah, so just that was just a marker for myself. And you can see there's volume accumulating in this area, in this volume profile. It's a thick blue, light blue lines in the volume profile. There are orders there. Just indicated that with the gray shaded area. So we are now reversing, which is going to be a retracement because we broke out of the accumulation, or this channel where we had the
Order
red and the
filled.
green red and green support and resistance areas below us.
Order
So we
filled.
will be retracing back into volume to pick up orders for the continued move up. So this is where I'm just moving my stop to get away from getting stopped out from this retracement. I should pretty much put it out of volume, but you can, as you can see, my stop loss is above this volume cluster. It should be pretty much below it. Kind of dancing with risk here. And just here, I'm pulling out a Fibonacci retracement because I've been watching videos of people with ICT and all that. So the Fibonacci retracement tool is just pretty much measuring the potential of where it can bounce. As in, if we move a strong direction up, then we retrace to see where and how far it might go down. But this tool isn't really necessary because it is just for people who don't have level 2 insight, which is volume profile. And when you have volume profile, you'll be able to see where the potential to bounce is, because bouncing is just picking up volume. So we will be picking up volume where volume is, which is this previous volume cluster that we were at, where we broke out of the ceiling. So this is where we're going to be picking up volume. As you can see, we're kind of back where we were before we broke out, and now we are picking up those orders. So people are buying up orders to continue to the upside, and that means people are selling their original positions. So let's say you purchased a buy order where the breakout is, and you got your profit, and then you kind of got to break even, and then you're like, I
Order
don't see
filled.
us going back to the upside because I'm a newbie. So I'm selling my order to break even. So someone picked that up. So someone bought your order because they can see that you can continue to the top side. And those are the orders that are kind of like being shaken out to be picked up from other more experienced traders. So you lose out and someone wins. So that is what pretty much a retracement is. And as you see, I entered a second position because we have a strong rejection from that retracement, and we are continuing up to the top side to fill the gap. And gaps almost always fill once we are nearing that area. So we have filled this gap, and we are my sights are where the opening gap started. As you can see, the top side of this big blank area in the 5-minute chart, that is the opening gap. So the original target is at the top of where the opening gap started, but we just move towards what the market tells us to do. And this is, I'm going to be holding this until I see first sign of weakness, and that is the first black candle that I see. So looking while I was recording this, that the price did continue to the top side to fill all the way to the top, but that's fine. I got my money for the day, which my goal usually is 500 to 1,000 a day. Can't be greedy, as that will give you a mindset of giving back your profits. So here we are at goal, and we're teasing up to $2,000 for the day, but this is where the black candle stops us out, and I close accordingly and as such. So this candle will be closing in 30 seconds. And as you can see, we have filled the gap, and there's volume here, like where this big black candle is in the
Order
center
filled.
of the 1-minute chart. There's a point of control, so that's where volume had accumulated the most. And there is another volume point of control where we currently are to the right of the volume cluster, and that is what's keeping us to this area here. And for a net gain of 1700 for the day, follow me, Future Rich Dad, and follow my journey. Thanks.